Hey, everybody. I am Dr. Patrice Buckner Jackson, but you can call me PBJ. Welcome to another episode of Disrupting Burnout, where we are equipping educators with the strategies to do purposeful work without burning out. Listen, friend, this month of July is dedicated to educators. Now, if you are not in a school, college, or university, you know you're still welcome here. Come on. You know how we do this. But I know what this time of year means for those who are in education. I know that the reason why I started doing this work was to fuel and feed and support my people, my fellow educators who I've watched over the years pour out so much, but very rarely get poured back in. So this month, we are focused on equipping educators to have the best school opening they've ever had. It doesn't mean there won't be struggles. It doesn't mean all the students are going to do, not the students, the parents. Can we just be honest? It does not mean that everybody's going to do what they're supposed to do, but it does mean you can be at peace no matter what. And we want to give you strategy and practical tools to do that. So let's continue this conversation. And today I am so honored. One of one of the most impactful things or benefits of being an educator is that your students your students who you watch get involved and grow and connect with each other. And when you can remain in contact and you watch their path, and then they end up in education and you're watching how they're impacting other students, it's the legacy of it for me. It's my favorite part. It's my favorite part when I get to connect to those who were my students at one time and now they have their own students. So today I am introducing you all to Natalie Irvan. Natalie is from Kennesaw, Georgia. We met at Georgia Southern University. I think that's where you met your husband as well. I remember that. They live in Statesboro, Georgia. Natalie has a bachelor's degree in early childhood education and a master's in reading education, both from Georgia Southern. She's been teaching for 11 years and she has two beautiful little girls, Harper and Adeline, and they are my favorite social media influencers ever. Okay. So I just want to take this moment. Natalie, I told you this offline, but I got to tell you in front of the people, I'm so proud of you. I
Thank
am
you.
so proud of you. The work that you're doing, the way that you love it, it's so evident that you love your students and you love your work, but also the way that you bring your family in and you have not forgotten your priorities. So
Mm.
it's my honor to welcome you to Disrupting Burnout. Thank you for joining me today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's an
Now,
honor.
oh, the honor is mine. The honor is mine. So let's talk to educators. You've been a teacher for 11 years now. Before we get into the tools and tricks, tell us
Mhm.
who you are.
Yeah, so I can't believe it's been 11 years. This seems like a really long time, but it's gone by really fast. I started teaching right out of college, was working on my master's as well, taught here locally in Statesboro, and then my family, just John and I, before we had kids, moved to Atlanta. So I also taught in Atlanta for a year. Um, and then I came back because we missed our community here in Statesboro. And so then I started teaching here again in a little town called Brooklet, which is right next to Statesboro. And I've been there ever since. I've taught fifth grade, second grade, and third grade. So I've kind of been all over the map, taught a lot of different types of students, um, interacted with a lot of different types of parents. And I love it. I mean, it's, such a huge part of my life.
Yeah, yeah. So Natalie, take us back. How did you decide that education was going to be your path? Where did that come from?
So when I was in second grade, I had a teacher who I'm still in contact with today. She's a phenomenal person. Her kids actually go to Georgia Southern, so I feel like we've kind of come full circle there. But she saw me. I felt like, when I was really young, sometimes I was misunderstood. I was pretty sassy, and so it was a love-hate relationship with the teachers. They were like, listen, calm down, bring it down a notch. But she really saw who I was, and I felt like she capitalized on my strengths. She encouraged me. She built me up. Not that she didn't speak into me and speak truth, but she saw me. And so after that, I mean, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be just like her with her nails and all, I wanted to make kids feel seen, no matter who they are, no matter what talents, what, weaknesses they have, that I see them. And she really inspired me. So I think, ever since I was in second grade, I always said that's what I want to do. I want to be a teacher. So I just kind of followed that path. It was pretty clear to me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
With you saying that she saw you, I call that discovering your brilliance. Right.
Yes.
One of
Yes.
my struggles with how we raise our children in American culture is, as young as they can talk, we start asking kids, what do you want to be? But we really mean, what do you want to do as a career?
Right.
And we miss the opportunity to see the brilliance on the inside of them and to steer them into the direction of that brilliance. Because as a child, they're most free, right? Most children, I won't take for granted that every child has a beautiful childhood, but
Sure.
before life things happen, they are most free to express who they are on the inside, right?
That's right.
And I believe if we stop to see that, whether they are the A+ student, the C student, or the D student, there's shine in them, there's brilliance in them. And if someone like your second grade teacher will pause to see that light and help the students see that light, it can literally change the trajectory of their life.
That's
It can,
exactly right.
yeah, it can help them avoid identity issues.
Absolutely.
Oh my
Absolutely.
goodness.
And one of the things that my husband and I have been talking about a lot with our personal children is they're so different. They are complete opposites. One is very nurturing and empathetic and loving, and one is strong-willed and sassy and wants to be in charge. And we've talked about, how can we, now that they're getting older, how can we nurture that in them, and prepare them as they go out into the school. How can I use my strengths to positively impact the people around me? And I think you're not too young to have that conversation of, I see this in you. You are so kind. You pick up on people's feelings before somebody else may. And so how can you be a good friend using those strengths, or with Adeline, how can you lead? Because people are going to watch you because you're loud and you're loud and proud. So how can you lead in a positive way, and help your teacher in the classroom with that? And so I feel like those are conversations we've been having. What do we need to lean into with our own kids?
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Because even at their age right now, when you see that light shining, like when you see Adeline lead amongst her peers or anybody, Adeline, what a great leader you are. Just now you did A, B, and C. Man, that's the light of God shining in you. That's awesome. And then when there are moments when that leadership maybe moves into a direction that needs a little correction, still let her know, hey, that's your leadership, but we need to do it this way.
Right.
By identifying the examples, we don't have to make it up. They're showing us. They show us, they give us the content, they give us the material.
Yes, they do.
We just have to guide and be aware. We have to be aware, because so often with children, we tell them to stop doing that. Stop doing that. And I get it, right? Because we don't want our child to be the one in the classroom just tearing things apart. I got that.
Exactly.
But if we can pause for a minute in our momentary panic,
Mhm.
If we can pause for a minute and help them understand that actually that's your brilliance, right? And
Mhm.
it can be your superpower or your kryptonite. And we'll use the
Right.
right words according to their level.
Right.
But this is actually this is your natural gift, and
Yeah.
all of us have one, and it can help people or it can kind of be, it can be something that may not be helpful. So let's
Right.
figure out how to make it helpful. Even they may
Mhm.
not understand at this level completely, but if you start that conversation now and
Mhm.
continue that conversation, it will be a conversation that they'll learn to have with themselves.
Right. To be self-aware. Absolutely. That's so powerful when kids can grab a hold of that.
What a gift. What
Mhm.
a gift.
Yeah.
So, how do you bring that same approach, the approach that
Mhm.
your second grade teacher had with you, the approach that
Mhm.
you and John are working through with your babies? How do you bring that to the classroom? What does that look
Mhm.
like?
Um, well, the thing that I tell all my student teachers that come into my classroom is that um, first and foremost, I meet my students at the door in the mornings. There's something really powerful about that. It seems silly, and I'll stand there. I've got my coffee cup, stand there with my coffee cup, and greet every student by name. And that's how we start our day, is
Mm,
me identifying, hey, you're here and I'm so glad you're here today. And calling them by their name
mm,
and acknowledging that they're here and that I'm happy about it. So already they feel seen, right? And then as we go throughout our day, like you said, one of our school mottos is actually, well, it's grow. The G stands for genius is in everyone.
mm,
And so cultivating that in our procedures and how we set up our classroom, like things that I put on the wall, like I want my values and my beliefs about my students to be displayed so that they can see that, so that it's a reminder for me too on the hard days, you know, you love these kids, you love what you're doing, and here's why you're doing it. And the why is everywhere visually for me to see. Because when you lose sight of that, then all the noise starts taking over. And that can be very, very difficult to move past. And so I think, just creating a culture in my room, that is so important to me. And that's, the first thing I do is tell the kids how important it is to me that we all respect each other, that we all feel accepted, regardless of learning needs, regardless of differences. Um, that is number one priority, because if we don't establish respect in our classroom from the get-go, then nothing else can take place. If
true.
my kids don't know that I respect them and that I see them, then what I'm going to teach them is meaningless. They're not listening, they're not receiving from me. Just as we as adults, if we don't feel respected or seen or heard, then what the other person's trying to present doesn't come through, and it could be really good, but it doesn't matter if you don't have that relationship. Um, so that's number one. Number one is that culture.
Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. I have to unpack some things you said. Hey, friend, listen, I have an exciting news for you. So, if you've been following, you know I've been writing this book and I am so excited about getting it into your hands. And guess what? Today, I'm offering you the first sample of my new book, Disrupting Burnout. Friend, listen, we have more work to do, okay? It's still going to professional editing. We still need to design the book, but I can't wait till all that's done for you to start digging in. So there's a sample copy that I read myself for you that's available to you today. All you have to do is go to www.patricebucknerjackson.com/book. Again, patricebucknerjackson.com/book. Grab your sample, listen to the sample chapter, and listen, let me know what you think. I cannot wait for you to hear this book. Friend, go grab it today because that was really powerful. I appreciate the way you greet your students with their name. And you
Mm-hmm.
said, I want them to know I'm happy they are there. No matter if yesterday was a good day or a bad day,
That's
it
right.
doesn't matter. I am glad you are here. And
Yep.
it's that welcome, it's that invitation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're children. So even if they
Right.
had a bad day yesterday, they're showing up thinking, are we okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you immediately let them know that we're okay.
That's right.
When you spoke about having your why so that you can see it, oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness. Because sometimes as a teacher you may think you're decorating your classroom for your students,
Right.
and you are, but it also impacts you.
That's exactly
It
right.
impacts you. So for you, number one, to stay connected to your why. Why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I start this career? Why am I at this school? Because all
Mm-hmm.
the things, the mandates, the demands, the pressures, all of that
Mm-hmm.
stuff can wash out your why if you don't keep it in front of you.
That's
So to
exactly
have
right.
your why in your classroom, that's so
Mm-hmm.
good. That's
Yeah.
so good. And then you went to culture. And
Mm-hmm.
you said the culture in my classroom. I need to
Mm-hmm.
honor that because I talk about controlling what you can control.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a teacher, you may not control the whole school or the school district, right?
Right.
There are decisions that you may not have authority in, but you
Mm-hmm.
control that classroom.
Mm-hmm. That's
That is
exactly
your
right.
space. That is your space.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to wait on the culture of the school. You don't have to wait on the culture of the district. You can
Mm-hmm.
decide what culture will be established in your classroom.
Right.
And your
That's
students
exactly
will know
right.
the difference.
Mm-hmm.
They'll know the difference, especially as they get older and they're changing classes. They'll
Mm-hmm.
know, they will feel it when they walk into
Mm-hmm.
one classroom versus the other. They quickly learn what the culture and guidelines are.
Yes, they do.
They
Yes, they do.
quickly learn. They will suss it out quickly. They
Mm-hmm.
know who you are.
Yep.
Sometimes before you know who you are.
Exactly.
They know who
Exactly.
you are. So that culture, and then the last thing, I'm going to be quiet, I promise. That was so good. The last thing you talked about is safety,
Yes.
that a person can't learn or hear if they don't feel
Mhm.
safe.
That's right.
And that matters for our students, but it also matters for our teachers, our staff, our administrators. A person
That's right.
can't hear if they feel like their job is in jeopardy. A
Hmm.
person can't hear if they feel disrespected or dishonored in a space.
Hmm.
Unless we feel safe, our nervous system does not allow us to engage learning,
Hmm.
wisdom, creativity. We cannot even access that level of brain activity when we
Right.
don't feel safe.
Hmm.
Whew, that's
Yes.
so important. That's so
Hmm.
important.
Absolutely.
So, so as you think about going back, right? Because I'm
Hmm.
assuming that you've been out this summer. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And it's almost time to start going back, teacher work days,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. So
Yes.
as you prepare over the last 11 years, right? 11 years, as you prepare, what are some of the things that you do to get yourself ready to go back?
So, yeah, so one of the things that's kind of evolved over time is how I self-reflect. So during the summer, I spend a lot of time thinking about my practices from the year before, what worked, what didn't, what went well, what did not go well. And there's something every single year that I feel like, wow, that could have been better, you know? But I think walking the balance between self-reflection and condemnation, like self-reflection doesn't mean that you beat yourself up because you didn't do something that you felt like was best. One of the things my husband always tells me is you do the best you can with the information you have available at the time. So as I look back, it's important for me to remember just because I didn't get that right doesn't mean I'm a bad teacher. It means that I'm a human and I'm going to make mistakes no matter what year it is, no matter how long I've been teaching. But I've matured and I've grown. So, like, first year teacher Natalie is not the same as now. Um, in a lot of different ways. But to me, it's so important to reflect back and to think about what I want to change, because every single year I change. It's never, education never stays the same. You have to evolve with it. You have to make decisions based on where our kids are at today, post pandemic. Then, it's a totally different ball game. And so just that self-reflection piece is so important to me. And, also I take time to rest. That's hard for me because I'm like I want to do, I want to do, I want to do. And when people are asking me to do things, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that for you. I'll do that for you. But that's not what, you know, is best for me. So giving myself permission, like just allowing myself to take a step back, to spend time with my kids, to not think about school. So June did not do anything because that was my time to refresh and to just, again, self-reflect, but not spend, lots of time going over and over and over again, what needs to happen for the next year, like taking that time to breathe a little bit because you need it.
Yeah.
You have to have it.
Oh gosh, we got to talk about rest because so many of us don't know how to rest.
That's right.
Rest is not just sleeping at night. You mentioned in June how you intentionally don't think, you may self reflect, but you don't focus on work the whole month.
Right.
Because if you do, you've lost your break.
That's
You
right.
may not physically be at work, but mentally you're grinding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, Natalie, we go back to work on Monday and feel like we didn't have a weekend.
That's
Because
exactly
all
right.
weekend long, even if you're not physically there, you're thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking about the challenge you had with a student last week and how you want to tackle it. You're thinking about the professional learning that you have to do. You're thinking about the lesson plans. Even if you're not doing it, you're thinking about it. And we lose our rest days because we don't mentally rest.
Mm-hmm.
I want to share this real quick for someone who may be listening. There are three types of rest that I encourage, and I call it a lifestyle of rest. Rest is not just sleeping at night, because a lot of us sleep and don't rest.
Right.
So there are three types of rest I encourage. One I call Selah rest. Selah. It's a word from the book of Psalms that means to stop and think about that. Selah rest is throughout your days, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can do to get those minutes. It's not scrolling.
Right.
It's not grabbing a quick conversation with a colleague. It's not even sitting with a student who's taking a test. Selah rest is 3, 5, 10 minutes alone, just to allow your mind to process. Because the challenge is we're going from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing, and our brains were not created to process this level of information this quickly and this often. Right? So Selah is a stop during the day, and you have to be intentional, because if you don't, you'll tell yourself you don't have time. You make time. You make time. Whatever if it's your bathroom break, if it's a step outside during lunch, a breath of fresh air, whatever it is, you have to practice stopping during the day, walk away, get out of your classroom, go to your car for a minute, whatever you are allowed to do, but get a moment of your mind to just stop for a moment. So that's throughout your days. Next, you need Sabbath rest. You need a day a week. You need and I know it's a tall order. I know it's a tall order for those of us who are so used to taking care of other people. But you need a day every week for rest, play, and worship. And let me just say this, for those of us who are church folks, I'm not talking about the day that you're serving at your church. That is not, that's not Sabbath. That's not rest. That's work. And I encourage you to do that, but that's work. I'm talking about a day where you don't have to be anything to anybody. Whether you and your babies are eating ice cream or dancing in the house or listening to music or sitting outside or taking a walk, your Sabbath day is disconnect day. And if you're really ready, do it without tech.
Yeah.
Put your phones
That's
away.
good. So hard to do.
Yes,
Yes.
hard. We're addicted at this point.
Yes.
We've
Yeah,
been spoon fed this thing, but it
hmm
again, it keeps our mind grinding, right?
that's right.
The third part of rest is sabbatical rest. That means you physically get away, right? And it can be a weekend, it can be 2 days, it can be 24 hours, but you need that physical separation from your
Mhm.
normal responsibilities. The physical, because when you just take a day off but you stay home, you may be sitting but you're looking around the house thinking about all the things you should be doing.
Yes.
That's
Yep.
not real rest. When you have that physical separation, it encourages you to really let
Mhm.
it go, because you couldn't do it if you tried, because you're not there,
That's right.
right? So you need that sabbatical, however long, whatever budget you have, you
hmm
need that sabbatical. And I'm going to venture to say, friends, you need a sabbatical without your babies every now and then.
Amen.
Somebody loves your babies, and you can leave them safely with
That's right.
somebody in your life for a day,
That's right.
for 48 hours. They'll be okay, and you'll come back a better mommy.
Yes. You're
Yeah.
right. That's
So
so
I just
good.
wanted to, I gotta say that about rest.
hmm
Natalie, what would you say to a new teacher? So somebody who's walking into their first academic year, how would you encourage them to prepare themselves?
Oh, hold on tight. No, I think, um, find people who have been there. Find a mentor, find a teacher that's older than you who can speak into you, because being a new teacher is so intimidating. And there are so many things you thought you were ready for that you have no idea how to deal with because all of a sudden, all these things are thrown at you that you can't prepare for. Um, and so I think finding people who have gone before you that can support you, that can speak into you, that can give you ideas um, on how to manage your classroom and the things that you're struggling with is so important. I mean, number one. Um, and then number two, give yourself grace. I would go home crying every day my first year because I was so frustrated that I couldn't just get it right. And kids are so full of grace for adults. Like I lose my temper at my kids, and the next second they're like, "I love you so much, mommy." It's like, wait, I just yelled at you, but they do, and they show grace, and they are willing to receive you back. It's okay if you mess up. Give yourself grace. Give yourself permission to make mistakes because they're going to happen. And, just taking ownership of that and saying, like, I'm trying, I'm doing my best, because that's all you can do, is it
Mhm.
just go into every day. No matter what happened the day before, I'm just going to do my best today. And if you can lay down at night and say, you know what, I did the best I could, then you win,
Mhm.
right? Um, because there's nothing else that we can do but do our best with what we have. Um, so I think that those would be two things that would be so important as a first year teacher,
Yeah.
just to listen to other people and to take wisdom from people who have been there, because that's so powerful.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
That's so good. That's so good. I appreciate you equipping people to know that you're going to learn on the job, right?
hmm
Like, I
hmm
don't know if we come in expecting that, we have the degree, we have the certification, we're ready to go, we got great ideas,
hmm
we've done our student teaching. You are going to learn.
Yes.
You are still, so
Every year.
be prepared every year. Be prepared. Be prepared.
hmm
Know now that there are things that you will know at the end of the academic year that you don't know right now.
That's
And you may
exactly right.
learn them in ways that you don't like. You're going to learn. You're going to learn. I love it. All right, we're getting close, Natalie, but I would love for you to share with us a little bit about how you prepare your family. So you got two
Mm.
little ones, you have a husband, y'all got other things going on. How do you prepare your family for the beginning of a new academic year?
Yeah, we're kind of unique in one situation that we have because my older daughter, Harper, has special needs. And so she needs to have a lot of things set in place ahead of time so that she doesn't have so much anxiety coming into a new year. So what we do, is talk through the routines a lot. Like, hey, we're getting ready to go back to school. Let's go together and pick out your backpack. Now, what are you going to use your backpack for? And then let's go together and pick out your lunchbox, and let's get your school supplies together. And why don't you show me how you want them organized, and just giving her step by, like, not revealing too much at one time, but step by step preparing her. A lot of the classrooms in our school have changed. People are moving around. So she's gone up to the school with me. And that is a perk that I have, as a teacher. She's gone up there with me. We've walked to every single room that she'd be going to, because she gets pulled out and, different resource classes. To show her. And then she continues to talk about it afterwards, and that is just her processing what she's about to go into and easing some of that, like, anxiety. So it's not new when she gets there. She's been there, she gets it, it's okay. For Adeline, I don't really know. It's all new to her. She's going to pre-K this year, so it should be very interesting. And I think she's going to thrive. She loves to learn. And so she actually wants me to take opportunities with her to learn to spell her name and learn her numbers, how to write her numbers. And so just listening to what they need and what they want, as far as going into a new school year, is so important, because then it gives them ownership over that, and she comes up to the school with me too. So she kind of knows where she needs to go. And yesterday we were up there and she was saying, well, this is the red hall, and then you're going to be on the yellow hall. And so it doesn't take that long for me to walk to your class. I was like, yes, but you won't be doing that all day. So I think just taking steps to, like, familiarize them with the new routines as much as you can. There's always going to be bumps along the road, but, and for a mom, I've got to make sure that things are in place for Harper as well. I have to advocate for her. I have to make sure she's, set up to receive the services she needs to receive, that things, are in place for her as she starts the new school year that are going to serve her best. And so that's just another layer of things, that we have to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot wait for Adeline to go to school. I can. Listen, I'm ready. If you have to DM me, whatever, you got to share, because it's going to be, she's so full of life, and
she is
so wise at her little age, so it's going to be a ball for parents who have students with special needs. If they're not a teacher, are there ways that they can advocate and give their children that same opportunity to kind of see the rooms and know, is that allowed? Is there a way a parent can do that?
Yeah, I don't know how every school operates, but I do know that there's no shame in asking. There's no shame in saying, hey, this is our situation. This is what we feel like will be best for our child. And could we make that happen? And I would venture to say that most schools would be very responsive to that, because they want the kids to feel safe. They want that they want to be proactive instead of reactive to a situation. And so I think that, parents who have kids that need certain things, like, get yourself in there and ask for the things that you want, ask for the things that you need, ask for the things that are going to serve your baby, and don't be ashamed of asking for that. Don't be afraid to ask. And if you don't know what to ask for, then ask, like, say, we're faced with a situation. I don't know exactly how to walk through this, to navigate it. Do you have resources? Do you have therapists that you recommend? There's so many resources that I think parents just don't know. Initially when they get a diagnosis, whatever that is, sometimes they just don't know how to move forward or how to advocate. So researching that, asking that, letting your kid's teacher be your teammate, in that, work together, collaborate with each other on how to best meet the needs of your child, because that's our job, is to care for every child, no matter what, across the board, and that's what should happen. It should be a team effort.
I love that. Thank you for sharing and thank you for empowering from your experience as a teacher, but also as a parent.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that there's somebody who's listening who needed just that.
Yeah.
Natalie, we've got to let the people go. But if it's okay with you, I feel led in my heart just to speak life over you and your school and your students. Is that okay?
Thank you. Oh, I'd love that.
Natalie, I want you to know that this is going to be the best academic year that you've ever had. Every child that comes to your classroom is assigned to you, and you have what they need to learn. You have what they need to be significant. You have what they need to grow this year. I want you to know that every challenge you may face is already resolved. You don't have to strive and you don't have to struggle. If you will settle yourself and rest, exactly the door that you need and exactly the answer that you need will come forth. Every child in that classroom is going to be filled with joy. They are going to encounter love like they have never encountered love at school before. They are going to thrive, and not just your students, but your babies. Your babies will thrive this year. They will learn, they will grow, they will be excited about school, they will be healthy and whole. Your whole household is going to become more, become better, walk forward into purpose this year. And I believe and I speak that your school district is going to be safe. It is going to be successful, and there's going to be a new peace like never before. I am going to speak that all of the things that you all have faced over the last few years, this is going to be the year of peace. This is going
Mm.
to be the year of peace for you, for your colleagues, for your administration, for your students, for the parents, for the town, for the district. I speak peace. I speak peace
So
in the
good.
name of Jesus. And I am so proud of you.
Thank
I
you.
am so proud of you. And I am so grateful that you are assigned to the classroom because
Thank
those
you.
babies need you.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for encouraging
Absolutely.
teachers.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Oh my goodness. Y'all, I hope that your heart is encouraged and you are fueled and filled, and you will take this advice. You will think about your why, that you will put it in spaces that you can see it, that you will rest for the next week
Mhm.
or a week and a half, whatever you have left, that you will take that time for real rest. But don't just stop there, that you will incorporate rest as you start and as you
Mhm.
continue through the academic year. I want you to prepare your heart, your family for what you're walking into because it's going to be your best school year yet. All right. As always, you are powerful, you are significant, and you are loved. Love always, PBJ. Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you so much.
Thank you, Natalie.
Mhm.